stewards. They're trotting this horse, are they? What, girth adjustment? Oh, a girth adjustment on Star of Maple. Jimmy Cassidy wasn't happy with it, and he was taken out of line, and the girth, or surcingle, or both, were adjusted on Star of Maple. Now they're set. Waiting for the starter to come over and release the field. Now Mick Dittman out of the saddle from Waikikamukow, out in barrier 11. There might be a problem here now. Waikikamukow has been taken out of the stalls. Shane, can you see what's happening down there?
Yeah, what happened, John, was Waikikamukow got a leg caught up in the stall. He just reared a little bit, and now he's pulled his plate off when he's come back down. They've pulled him out, and they're going to have to replate him. With Jimmy Cassidy, he was in the barriers, and all of a sudden he realised his girth was loose, so they pulled him out and they resaddled his, or re-girthed his horse. But there's going to be a delay of a couple of minutes here now, John.
A girth coming loose on the way to the barrier. I guess with some horses, those big horses, deep-chested horses, can blow them out on you. Yeah,
there's no doubt about that, and the best thing he did was to get it tightened, because he can pull very hard, Star of Maple, and if you lose it, leave it a little bit loose, two things happen. The saddle either slips right up their neck or it slips right back, and it doesn't help anybody.
Waikikamukow has loosened a plate, and that will have to be rectified. There'll be a slight delay. Waikikamukow got his leg caught momentarily within the stalls, loosened a plate as he came down, and that's being rectified now by the resident farrier at the starting point. Shane, Popsy's ability on rain-affected ground is completely unknown.
She's had one start, and that was on the very first start in the race, and she got through it okay, but really they were up in the air about it. John Lance didn't know what to expect. She is by Sir Tristram's. A lot of them don't really handle it, but he said the track looks, or it is a lot worse than what it looks. It looks pretty good from us in the stand and watching the races, but he said they're really getting into it.
What about Arborea? Now, this is a filly you know extremely well. You won a string of races on her in Melbourne during the spring. She's a little rabbit of a thing, isn't she? Not much of her.
There's nothing of it, John, and the biggest thing with her is to get her to settle, and that's something she was doing for me, settling. And you saw last start she pulled very, very hard and ruined her chances in the Ansett Stakes at Rose Hill. She had her head up the whole way. Yeah. Noel Harris is going to just have to be very careful on her. If she gets her head up, she can't win.
No, it's not really pulling as such, is it? It's just that she's so tender in the mouth that you've only got to touch her mouth and she throws the head back.
Yeah, she's like that, John. But she can pull a bit at the same time, and when you're just trying to get in behind another horse to get a good run, she just throws her head, and she has got a tender mouth, as you said. She's not an easy horse to ride.
No, and the quicker they go, the better she travels.
Well, she needs pace on, and with Zaremba in front, he normally does set a little bit of pace.
Zaremba, ridden by Kevin Moses. You won a race on him at Moonee Valley on Cox Plate Day. Does he prefer a firm track?
Yes, he does. He wants good going, and this isn't going to suit him today, but you've got to remember he's going to be in front. And as we've seen in every race, horses racing up near the pace are suited, so he gets his chance here today, and he's very, very fit. He ran a 2,400 metre race last week, and this horse is ready to go in the stalls now, John.
Okay, Shane, thank you. Thanks for those comments. Pre-race comments from the starting gates with Shane Dye, who is the Wide World of Sports Clerk of the Course today. Now, Waikikamukow back in the stalls for Mick Dittman, and now they're set and ready for dispatch 5 minutes late in the Australian Derby. Off and running in the Derby, looked a good start, came out in a nice even line, and who'll be the early leader? Zaremba didn't jump all that well, so he won't be up front early. It's Rum Rustic crossing to lead Mahogany, followed by Star of Maple. Now Zaremba pushing between horses. Fraternity on the fence in a good spot. Midfield when they settle down, Arborea, who's climbing and reefing all over the place. Western Red shied away from something there, wanted to duck off the track going out of the straight, followed by Sable Dreamer. Then Popsy between horses, followed by Shelved and Waikikamukow a bit deep. And then Sahara Andy and Kay Cornet second last, with Sahara Andy dropping out last as they go to the 800 mark. Now Zaremba goes to the lead with his neck arched at the 1800 mark and draws out by nearly 2 lengths on Rum Rustic. Mahogany onto the fence in the box seat third, as he was in the Victoria Derby. A length away Star of Maple, followed by Fraternity, and then Western Red, Arborea, Shelved, and Waikikamukow getting across to the rail. That's a good trick because he was 4 deep early. Further back Kay Cornet, followed by Sable Dreamer, and then then Popsy and Sahara Andy as last as they go down the back to the 1400 metres mark in the Australian Derby, and Zaremba slows them up, led by a length and a half to Rum Rustic, nice and relaxed in second spot. A neck away Mahogany, who goes to sleep third for Greg Hall. A 1.5 then to Star of Maple on the outside of Fraternity, followed by Western Red on the outside of Arborea, shelved on the outside of his stablemate Waikikamu Cow, Kay Cornet on the outside of Sable Dreamer. A length and a half to Popsy and Sahara Andy, and they're the joint tail enders as they come to the top turn at the 1,000 mark, and Moses is off on Zaremba. He's trying to pinch a break on them, opened up a lead of 2.5 on Rum Rustic, whose rider won't let him get too far away. They got away from Mahogany there. He's about 4 lengths behind Rum Rustic going over the crossing, and then Star of Maple about 2 to Fraternity, followed by Western Red, Arborea, well back Shelved and Waikikamu Cow, then Sable Dreamer, followed by Kay Cornet, Popsy out 3 and 4 deep as Flat Chat, and Sahara Andy last as they come to the turn. Zaremba's got a very big break on the corner. Zaremba led by 3 to Mahogany, who's getting to him rapidly now. Rum Rustic dropping out of it, followed by Fraternity, and then Star of Maple, Arborea, Sable Dreamer, and Waikikamu Cow is taken to the extreme outside as they come over the rise. Greg Hall looks extra confident on Mahogany. Zaremba's in front as they top the hill. Mahogany is gobbling him up very quickly with Waikikamu Cow and Arborea down the outside, but Mahogany swept to the lead, 100 out. He's got them struggling. Waikikamu Cow in second place, can't do any better, and then Arborea and Fraternity, but Mahogany flat to the boards, holding Waikikamu Cow, and it's the two-stake Derby double to Mahogany. Waikikamu Cow second, Fraternity third. Arborea ran a big race, followed by Sable Dreamer, and then Popsy, Kay Cornet, Zaremba, Star of Maple, well back Shelved, and then Western Red, Sahara Andy, and Rum Rustic is last in the Tui's Australian Derby. Mahogany ridden with great confidence by Greg Hall, who took a defiant look back at the opposition coming over the rise. He knew he had Zaremba well and truly covered, and he thought, I'll just make sure there's nothing travelling too quickly behind me. He took a disdainful peep over his left shoulder before popping the question, and Mahogany drew clear. Waikikamu Cow got to second, but Mahogany too classy, Ken.
Yes, John, far too classy. Beautifully ridden, as you say, by Greg Hall. He trailed Zaremba, shot clear. I thought Waikikamu Cow had a chance just over the top of the rise with about 250 metres to go. But when Hall pulled the whip, he's the horse who stayed. And anyone who says he can't stay, well, they're kidding. I think that's his game. And if anything, Mahogany was going away on the line from Waikikamu Cow. In the pink, getting along for third. Telesto's younger brother, Fraternity, he fell into a good spot in the race, and he can stay. He run third. Arborea in the white cap fourth, and Sable Dreamer in fifth place. Okay, the totes were $2 for the win, and we'll watch the owners here giving a big cheer for their horses halfway down the straight in the AJC Derby. Lee Friedman throws his hand in the air, and well he might, because it was his horse that won. And there's Shane Dye on the Clerk of the Course horses, with the other Clerk of the Course escorting Mahogany back to the scale. Shane, what's Gregory Hall think of all that?
Well, I can't even get a smile out of Greg at present. He won the Golden Slipper last week in the Derby. How does it feel, Greg?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Shane. It was bloody fantastic, mate.
Did you have a good run in running, and especially when Zaremba kicked clear at the half mile? He looked as though he might have got a winning break. Were you ever worried?
Yeah, well, I didn't go then, Shane, because I'm pretty sure they thought that was his tactics, his only hope of winning. And you see him, I let him get 6, 7, 8 lengths away from me, but luckily he come back to the field, but I thought he would, and he did.
You're entitled to be out of breath again after a 2,400 metre ride. Johnny Tapp said on the air you had a good peak around at about the 300 metres. You must have been very confident, were you?
Yeah, I was, Shane, yeah, I had a lovely run, and my only concern was carting him into the race, you know. That's what annoyed me, because as you know, you like something to cart you into it, but he was facing the breeze all the way, you know.
Well, Waikikamu was getting you, but you really held him off, and the horse was just too good. And congratulations on you, another fine ride, and you are certainly a Group 1 jockey.
Good on you, Shane. You're not bad yourself either, buddy.
Thanks, mate.
Good on you, Greg Hall. Complimenting Shane Dye there. Greg's had an unbelievable season. 2 derbies, Victoria Derby, AJC Australian Derby, Golden Slipper on Dan Zero. 2 years ago, or 18 months ago, the Melbourne Cup on Sub-Zero, the WS Cox Plate on Superimpose. How does he spend the money? Mahogany about to come back in pretty rough at the winning post the first time, and I'm told that Arborea blundered badly and all but fell at the judge with a lap to go. So for that little weedy filly to finish fourth is a tremendous effort. Here's Mahogany coming back in. Winner of the two-state Derby double, having won the Victoria Derby last year. Mahogany is a brown gelding by Last Tycoon out of Al Shandiga, raced by Mr. and Mrs. Lloyd Williams. Mr. and Mrs. Kerry Packer carried the colours of the late Sir Frank Packer, and those colours were initially registered in the 1920s by Sir Adrian Knox. The green and white hoops and the red cap. Lee Freedman continues on his winning way, and Greg Hall in the last couple of years has put together a tremendous run in group races. W.S. Cox Plate on Superimpose, Melbourne Cup on Sub-Zero, Golden Slipper on Dam Zero, and 2 derbies on Mahogany. A tremendous run of success in the Group 1 races. A cool, calm, collected and very great big race rider, Greg Hall. And look at the garland of roses around the winner's neck, a la Kentucky Derby. A romantic touch to the Tui's AJC Australian Derby. That's the scene at Royal Randwick as we take this break on Wide World of Sports.
Hey. Well, there he is, Greg Hall. What a magnificent race on Mahogany. Fantastic performance. He seemed to have a little bit up his sleeve as he went to the line. I just wonder how much money was on the nose there today. Outright favourite, and the little fella Greg Hall has capped it off with another win. Add that one to the slipper last weekend. Mahogany paid $2 for a win, $1.30 for a place. Waikika Mukau, $2.10, and Fraternity, $8 in third place. Okay, that's the divvies. Let's have a look how our 3 celebrity punters did. In the money, Kenny, well done at last. Matty, you beauty. Sterlo, split the difference. No way known. Okay, let's go down now to Kenny Callender for an update on what's happening in Melbourne.
Certainly, Max, and I'll tell Sterlo to pull his socks up. You can start to stick your chest out and boast a bit. I know Fatty will pull him into line and tell him what he should be doing. He might even shout him a hot dog. Here's the prices for the first leg of the double in Melbourne. A bit of a come down after the Derby. 11-1 State Taj, 9 Rasputin's Revenge, 8 Valdezere, 7 Our Tristolite, 20 Big Baron. I've backed the Sydney horse Idea. 7-4, short odds, but I think he'll win. He's a good horse. Have Your Say at 25-1, From the Park 9, Tribe 50, Sari Club 6, Galaxy Fair 15, and in the money a stablemate of Idea is not running. I think he's running next week. Sterlo, my boy, you've got to pull your socks up, son.
Ken, I can't afford any socks. I know what you're talking about. You're very, very hard to compete against. You're good judges. You know that, don't you? You've won $9, I think.
That's all right. And Kenny G. Hall, he did cause a bit of interference there out of the straight. He may get a couple of weeks of that. He knocked about 8 of them over, didn't he?
Oh, Paul Vorton, the steward now.
Anyway, I was happy to be on it, especially with the boss winning. I'm very happy for him. State Charge is the tip in this race, race 5-1. It's got the top weight, but it's good form. It's third run in from a spell. It won last start over a mile, 2,000 mil suited. State Charge, and good each way odds.
Yeah, I'm going against him, which isn't any surprise. Number 10, Sari Club for me. Been very impressive the last two starts ago. Ran third to Waikika Mukau, which ran second here in the Derby. Last start second to Trista Love. Hasn't won over the 10 furlongs, but it's been getting to line well. D short on top. Get up, mate. I've lost some since I've been out here, too. I tell you.
Eyes now.
Tappy, today just might be the day. Sari Club, number 10.
Righto, Pete. We'll be in Melbourne shortly. In fact, we're there now at Caulfield Racecourse. It's the Red Tulip Easter Cup. It's a Group 3 race over 2,000 metres and a pretty tidy field. Bart Cummings has a runner here from his Melbourne headquarters. Our Tristolite is the mare in question by the great sire Sir Tristram. She doesn't win very often by the same token, our Tristolite, and she'll be at a backable quote, I'd imagine. Let's just go back over the closing stages of the AJC Australian Derby. And again, watch the dour staying performance by Mahogany, who I might look at Hall, look over his left shoulder here. There he is in second place on Mahogany. Now watch closely. He knows he's got the leader well and truly covered, so he has a best slew you've ever seen in your life to try and gauge the way some of the opposing runners are travelling behind him. He was of the opinion that he was going better than they were, so now he says, go, boy. Strangely, Mahogany didn't quicken that much, did he? He didn't really accelerate, which means he's a real stayer. He lengthened his stride rather than quicken it, and that is definitely the sign of a stayer. And there he is, forging clear, again, not with any explosive acceleration, but he's got them floundering. Mick Dittman on Waikika Mukau. Look at Dittman's very familiar, aggressive style with the whip in the right hand. Boy, oh boy, can Mick lift him. And Fraternity, see the colours on the third horse. They'll be carried later by Telesto in the Doncaster handicap, the bright pink with the checkered sash and cap. So there's the margin, 1 length officially, with Mahogany beating Waikika and Fraternity. OK, back to Caulfield, only a couple to move in now. By the way, there's a riding change in the next at Randwick of some importance. Jimmy Cassidy indisposed after the derby, and on cross swords in the chairman's handicap, the new rider Lance O'Sullivan. L. O'Sullivan on cross swords. They're off in Melbourne. Here's Brian Markovic.
Galaxy Fair out wide, then Rasputin's Revenge, followed by our Tristolite and Tribe, Valdezere, Big Baron, and 2 lengths away Sari Club as they settle down into stride. And taking over now State Taj, led them up by a length and a half to From the Park in the centre, and going forward out 3 wide Rasputin's Revenge. A half away settling down fourth as Have Your Say towards the 1500. A length and a half away Galaxy Fair, followed by Idea. A length and 3/4 away the grey mare our Tristolite, followed by Tribe, Valdezere, Big Baron, and a length and a half away Sari Club. On top of the hill they race inside the 1400, and State Taj racing 1 off the fence, a half in front of Rasputin's Revenge. From the Park a clear third, 2 lengths away. A length and a half away settling down fourth as Have Your Say. A half on the outside Galaxy Fair. Idea 2 lengths away. A length and a half to our Tristolite, followed by Tribe on the inside, then Valdezere, Big Baron, and Sari Club is last. Towards the 1100 metres they race, some 15 lengths that cover the field, and State Taj on the outside, 3/4 in front of Rasputin's Revenge. From the Park 2.5 away, third on the outside of Have You Say. A length away Galaxy Fair, followed by Idea, then our Tristolite, followed by Valdezere and Tribe. Second last in the race is Big Baron, and Sari Club on the outside is back of the tail. Down the side they race towards the 600 metres, and State Taj is trying to lead all the way. Rasputin's Revenge is second, 2 lengths away, followed by From the Park on the outside. Peeling out now Galaxy Fair, so too Valdezere making ground. Just in behind them came our Tristolite, followed by Idea, Sari Club, Have Your Say, and 2 lengths away Tribe back at the tail. In the Red Tulip Easter Cup, around the home turn they race towards the 350, and State Taj wobbled around the turn, came about 2 horses away from the rail. Inside the 300 metres, State Taj over a length and a half in front. Idea pulls towards the centre, coming out after State Taj quickly. 4 lengths away Sari Club, followed by From the Park, but Idea ranged up and grabbed the lead over the concluding stages, and the Red Tulip Easter Cup goes to Idea, a good Idea, and Idea bolts in. Idea wins by 5 lengths to State Taj, 3 away third Sari Club, then From the Park, followed by Galaxy Fair, Have You Say Tribe. Well back in the race then came Sari Club, followed by Big Baron, Valdezere, our Tristolite, and last in and pulling up short Rasputin's Revenge.
And that's the official results. Race 5 in Flemington. 6 Idea, number 1 State Sarjo, and number 10 Sari Club, and the dividends yet to come through. How are our tipsters going? Here's an update. Well done, Kenny. Bad luck, Paddy. Oh, Sterlo. Good tipsters right out of form. Now, there's still time for Paddy and Sterlo to win or lose a small fortune this afternoon. Maybe Ken Callender can give some help in race 5 here at Randwick.
Yeah, I've kicked well clear of those 2 mugs now. Thanks, Ken. I've got a duck for cover later on because I reckon Sterlo will try and snip me. He'll want his fare home or something like that. But good luck to Mahogany and good luck to Idea. I'm off and running. Here's the next race. Number 1, Castletown, is at 25 to 1. Number 2, Azam at 6 to 1. I'm going to put my cash going for 3 winners in a row here. I'll get a big head on Air Pompeii at 4 to 1. Hear That Bell 9 to 4 favourite. Red for Go 14. Cross Swords 20. 9 to 2 O'Hara. Red Icing is out. 25 Royal Tiara. 30 in the event. 14 Paris Fire. 25 Palais de Louvre. 66 The Grouch. Windsor Princes are scratching. The race is set to run at 3:10 Eastern Standard Time.
You have got a big head, Ken. It's got a pretty big body to go with it too, unfortunately. 2 in a row. I actually got 1 in a row one day. But I'm going to go for number 2, Azam here. Mick Dittman's mount. Ran 3rd to Air Seattle last start. Had 5 runs back from a spell, and I think he's just cherry ripe for this one, Paul. What do you think?
Well, this is very scary. I'm sticking with Sterlo. I'm tipping Azam, Mick Dittman, ace jockey, and I think he'll win this race, the chairman's handicap.
And Ken, between the 3 of us, we did get the trifecta in Melbourne. Money to be made.
Always the last word to Sterlo. This is Wide World of Sports. More in a moment. Once again on Wide World of Sports, we're parting with $5,000 in today's Surf and Turf Memorable Moments giveaway.
Well, there's the presentation ceremony after the running of the Tooheys Australian Derby. If you look to the extreme right of the victory group, you'll see Mr. Kerry Packer making one of his rare visits to Randwick Racecourse to watch the colt or the gelding that he part owns, Mahogany, complete a two-state Derby double. Now the runners are moving onto the track for the chairman's handicap. This is a Group 3 race, 2,600 metres, the same distance as the AJC Metropolitan, and this is generally regarded as a full dress rehearsal, Ken, for next Saturday's Sydney Cup.
Yes, John, and an important point is that the winner of this race is not liable for re-handicap for the Sydney Cup. So in the old days, I used to suggest that horses had warm-up races and didn't try too hard in the warm-up races so they wouldn't get a penalty. Well, there's no worry about that. There's everything's above board because the winner is not liable to re-handicap for the Sydney Cup. Number 1, Castletown, is at 20 to 1. Number 2 is Arm. Fatty and Sterlo are on him. The grey, carrying a lot of extra weight, 9 to 2. Our Pompeii, my tip, 4 to 1, into about 15 to 4 now, 3 3/4 to 1, about $4.80 for $1 investment. Hear That Bell, 11 to 4, almost out to 3 to 1. Red for Go at 14 to 1, Cross Swords at 20 to 1. O'Hara likes the edge off the ground, that gives him a chance, 9 to 2. Red Icing is a scratching. Royal Tiara, the Kiwi, seems good odds at 20 to 1, 33 to 1 in the event. 14 to 1 Paris Fire, likes Randwick, he won't be disgraced. 25 to 1 Palais de Louvre. The Grouch is the roughie of the field at 80 to 1. I wonder who that's named after. And Windsor Prince is a scratching. The Grouch, incidentally, is almost out to 100 to 1 now. Not that we'd worry. He should probably be a couple of thousand to 1. And there's the barrier stalls down the bottom of the straight for this 2,600 metre event. They go all the way down the straight and then they've got another lap of the track to go. And as John said, the Sydney Cup is on next week. That's of 3,200 metres, the old 2-mile races. And they start that over around near the 5 furlong barrier. There going down is my selection, Our Pompeii, TAB number 3, trained by George Hanlon, a master trainer of stayers. Won the South Australian Derby before he won the South Australian Cup, and that the Adelaide Cup rather. And that day when he won the South Australian Derby, the track was a little bit affected. It was given out as dead. It was probably fairly similar to this. So thinking that way, even though he's better on top of the ground, I don't think this track should present a lot of problems to Our Pompeii. There he is, ridden by, in my opinion, as good a long-distance jockey as there is in Australia, Grant Cooksley. He was one of the favoured horses for last year's Caulfield Cup, Melbourne Cup, finished 4th in the Caulfield Cup, beaten less than a length, and didn't handle the bog track when unplaced in the Melbourne Cup. All runners around behind the barrier there now. I wonder if Shane's around there with them and his clerk of the course duties. Shane, are you there?
Yes, Ken. I'm right beside Red for Go here, and he looks very good. And just speaking with Brian York, and he's probably going to lead in the race, and he does like a wet track.
So that gives Red for Go a chance, eh?
Yeah, it does. Well, the horse to beat, I think, is Azam, just up in front of me. But he's going to get a long way back, Ken.
I think that you must have been tipping to Fatty and Sterlo. They were both very keen to back Azam.
Yeah, but as I said, the only thing is he is going to get back, and you can't do much about it. I tell you, just looking at him, whatever he does today, he's going to improve for the Sydney Cup.
Mate, what about a few of the others? Have you had a look at Our Pompeii, George Hanlon's horse?
Yeah, he come down lovely. He's not sweating, and he's very relaxed. He's behind me somewhere. And another one was Hear the Bell with Greg Hall on. He strode out beautifully down the straight, and he does look good, and he's got the blinkers on for the first time.
That's Hear That Bell, and he'll actually be advantaged by the track being a little bit wet.
Yeah.
OK, Shane, they're all trailing off over there. Anything else you can tell us about these long-distance races? It's still handy to find the rail, don't you think?
Well, there's no doubt about that, Ken, but in this race it's a bit better, and it's not so rough as the last one, because you've got about 500 metres till you're turning out of the straight, so you've got plenty of time to get across. But once again, you don't want to cover ground. You've got to be on the fence or one off the fence. And as Greg Hall did in the last race on Mahogany, he was in the clear at about the half mile. And that's very vital in staying races, to get into the clear, to give your horse every chance and not to get a check.
Once you lose your momentum in these long distance races, it's very, very hard to get it again, isn't it?
Well, it is. You can pick them up in mile races and 1,400 metre races. It doesn't seem to mind so much, because the horses you're riding can sprint very quick. But these horses can't quicken much. They're just dead set stayers. Lance O'Sullivan in front of me, he picked up the ride on Cross Swords, and he does like it wet.
Well, Shane, they're going into line there. I see one of our old favourites, Castletown. What a grand campaigner he's been.
Yeah, he's won 4 2-mile races.
Wowee. OK, we better pick up the caller. And number 1 man, J-Tap.
Righto, Ken, I was just thinking 3 winners in the last 8 or 9 years have gone on to win the Sydney Cup, namely King Aussie, also Major Drive and Marooned. Now waiting on Royal Tiara and the Grouch to come up. Most of the others are in there. Castletown, this remarkable old New Zealander, and he's been a specialist over the 3,200 metres journey. He's run in 3 Melbourne Cups, and he won the Wellington Cup in New Zealand recently. And he's back again for another crack at the Sydney Cup on Saturday next. They're all in, and the starter's coming over towards his rostrum to release the field. In the event, has broken through the barrier. In the event, just forced the front gates open. He cantered down the track 50 metres or so. Clerk of the course, Mick Stanley, down to pick him up, and in the event, it will be returned to the gates. Now, Palais de Louvre has the inside stall. Here, that bell stands up well with Our Pompeii, Red for Go, Cross Swords. Lance O'Sullivan replacing Jimmy Cassidy, who ripped a shoulder when he rode Star of Maple in a scrimmage at the winning post the first time round in the Derby. Star of Maple blundered badly at the judge with a lap to go. Jim Cassidy was thrown forward in the saddle and ricked his shoulder, which was quite painful when he pulled up after the race. Now Azam back, standing up well. In the event, is back in the stalls with Paris Fire. Starter ready, the gates open, they're off in the chairman's handicap. A good level start. Cross Swords and Red for Go are going to battle for the early lead. Our Pompeii is dropping onto the fence into the box seat. Paris Fire crossing into a nice posse. Wide out in the middle of the track is Royal Tiara, followed by In the Event, and then O'Hara. Hear that bell between horses on settling down, followed by the Grouch, Palais de Louvre and Azam. And the old fellow Castletown, having his 93rd race start, has dropped out last as they go past the judge the first time. Red for Go, who relishes a bit of soft ground, is the leader. Showed the way from Cross Swords, and 2 lengths away Paris Fire. 3/4 to In the Event on the outside in a good spot. O'Hara's racing 1 horse off the rail, followed by Royal Tiara, and then Our Pompeii on the fence. In the middle is Hear That Bell, and the Grouch 3 deep as they leave the straight, followed by Palais de Louvre. Last year's Sydney Cup winner Azam is second last, and 2.5 away last Castletown as they go by the 1,800 metre mark, and Red for Go the leader. Red for Go by a bit more than a length to Cross Swords. 2 to Paris Fire, a length and a half to In the Event, followed by the Grouch, who's sneaking up on the outside. Further back O'Hara from Royal Tiara, then Our Pompeii, Hear That Bell, Palais de Louvre. A half length away on the outside is Azam, and tacking on at the tail of the field now is Castletown. Into the back straight, they've got 1,500 to go. Red for Go fired up a little bit, wants to pull, led by a bit more than a length to Cross Swords. 1.5 Paris Fire, beautifully relaxed, followed by the Grouch 3 deep on the outside of In the Event and O'Hara. Further back Royal Tiara, followed by Our Pompeii. Hear That Bell is in front of only 3, and they are Palais de Louvre, Azam and Castletown as they head up to the top turn. 1,100 out. Red for Go led the chairman's handicap field. A bit more than a length to Cross Swords. Paris Fire In the Event, and the Grouch is 3 deep. 2 lengths away O'Hara, followed by Our Pompeii and then Royal Tiara from Palais de Louvre. Hear That Bell is a fair way back. Azam is now being ridden a bit second last, and Castletown on the outside is last. They're bunching up over the crossing at the 800 mark. Red for Go the leader, a neck on Cross Swords. The Grouch wide out. In the Event in the centre, Paris Fire near the fence, followed by Our Pompeii, and then O'Hara. His Hear That Bell now taking off 3 and 4 deep and coming into the race quickly, followed by Palais de Louvre, Royal Tiara, and well back Azam and Castletown, who's going to be widest of all on the turn into the straight. Heads a turn for home. Red for Go the leader, a neck on Cross Swords. 2 lengths away Paris Fire, who's had a lovely run. Our Pompeii into the clear now, and then In the Event, followed by Palais de Louvre, and Hear That Bell and Azam are giving them a big start coming over the rise. Cross Swords headed Red for Go. Paris Fire threatening danger. They're clear of Our Pompeii and Palais de Louvre. Cross Swords, Paris Fire. Cross Swords and Paris Fire have come away. They're fighting it out tooth and nail. Paris Fire gets the upper hand. The long striding Paris Fire drawing away in the last bit. He had a beautiful run in the race, and he comes away to win easily over Cross Swords with Red for Go third. Close up Hear That Bell, then Our Pompeii and O'Hara, followed by Palais de Louvre, Royal Tiara. Azam didn't fire home at all, and well back In the Event, followed by the Grouch, and Castletown pulled up with the tail enders in the chairman's handicap. Paris Fire